Hello, I'm Father Gregory Pine. This is Pines with Aquinas. The question of the day is, how can I pray without ceasing? And, in classic form, I'm going to take some from the wisdom of St. Thomas Aquinas and answer it with a bewildering amount of distinctions. So let's get to it. Okay, when St. Thomas Aquinas talks about prayer, specifically when he talks about liturgical prayer, he describes it in terms of intention and attention. So we can intend to pray always, and that, my friends, is a good start. So for instance, like if you go to a holy hour, if you go to make a holy hour, I should make sure that my verbs work. If you go to make a holy hour, you are intending to make a holy hour. Now let's say that during the course of that holy hour, you get an emergency phone call where like one of your friends or one of your children had an accident, you have to go to the hospital and such and yada yada. Okay, so fear not, you have merited a holy hour's worth of merit because you intended to do so. So there's a sense in which when you intend something, you commit to that thing volitionally. And when you commit to it volitionally, you commit to it in your person because the will is the kind of seat or it's the initiator of human action. And as a result of which, it kind of bears with it merit, or it bears with it the goodness in a certain sense of what we do. Okay. So when you intend to pray always, basically like you say by a one-time act, but an act that's renewed throughout the course of each day, like, Lord, I want to be present to you, I want you to be present to me, and I want to be able to kind of do that as best as I am able by your grace. That's good. That's meritorious. That's pleasing to God. And that's an excellent way to start. So I think that this praying always can be present throughout the course of one's day, regardless of the activity, provided that this intention is present. So, let's say, like run through the course of your day. I'll run through the course of my day. I wake up, I shave, I brush my teeth, I shower, I eat breakfast, I go pray in the chapel, I have morning prayer and mass, then I work at my desk for a while, then I go back to the chapel for midday prayer, lunch, recreation, go back to my desk, work for more, then go back to the chapel for communal meditation, vespers, dinner, come back to my desk, usually have some meetings, wind down, go to bed. Okay. So during the course of that, there's a considerable amount of movement, but there's also a considerable amount of changes of scenery, a considerable amount of potential distraction, potential like anxiety or weariness induction. That's not a normal way to talk. There are a lot of things about that are wearisome, or a lot of things about that which are kind of potentially anxiety inducing, yada yada. So there's a lot of up and down throughout the course of the day. But you can intend at the beginning of your day, say by a morning offering, to give the whole of it to the Lord. And then throughout the course of the day, you can begin to return to that intention in a way that's conscious. All right. Now, when we talk about conscious activity, we're passing from intention to attention. All right. So when St. Thomas talks about liturgical prayer, he says attention is signaled by the fact that we pay attention to the words, we pay attention to the sense of the words, we pay attention to what is described by or connoted by those words. So think about it like words, concepts, realities. We engage more and more wholeheartedly in the very thing itself by paying attention. All right, so our activity is underwritten by this intention, by this giving of ourself. And here I think of the act of devotion. So St. Thomas describes the virtue of religion, which is the virtue that posits or that makes acts of worship. All right. The interior dimension, which informs our will, is called devotion. And by devotion, we give ourselves promptly to the Lord. So we make this devout intention to be in the Lord's presence and to permit the Lord to be present to us by a kind of continual prayer, all right, that underwrites all of our actions. And then we seek to pay attention to the Lord throughout the course of our day, and to do so in a way that's conscious, to do so in a way that's continual, to do so in a way that's fervent. So here then, tricks and tips for living out that attention in a way that's very deliberate, in a way that's very engaged. Well, first would be, this is where the spiritual tradition talks about recollection, or talks about the practice of the presence of God. So you find this described throughout the course of the church's life in different ways. I think here of one of Cassion's conferences, St. John Cassion, who went around in the 5th century and interviewed a bunch of desert fathers and compiled their wisdom, and then was eventually in Marseille as the prior of a community of monks there. But he has this one conference about praying always, and there's this one monk who says that he constantly repeats these words from the Psalms: God, come to my assistance. Lord, make haste to help me. So he seeks to repeat those throughout the course of his day. And then you can think about the Eastern tradition, the Hesychast movement, where a person seeks to repeat the Jesus prayer as if by one's breath. All right, so it's like, Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner, amen. So it's like you try to make it part of your very life breath, the repetition of this prayer, such that it becomes so ingrained in you as a habit that you live out of it continually. Now, how very often you say these things, at the most basic level, there should be moments punctuating the course of our day whereby we turn to God intentionally, okay? So for me, I sit at my desk for roughly 4.5 to 5 hour periods, morning and afternoon / evening. And during the course of that time, it's about like every 45 minutes to an hour, I'm like, I'm going to die, okay? Now, when you think I'm going to die, different people do different things. So some people eat a snack, some people go for a caffeinated beverage, some people go to watch a YouTube video. Regardless of what you do, those are good movements to turn to the Lord, all right? Just to be like renewed in his presence. You don't have to say anything. You can say something. We would call those prayers aspirational prayers, or like traditionally you'd call them ejaculatory prayers. So just to kind of return to that. But you can also program your mind, as it were, program your mind and heart, so that certain changes of scenery initiate that in your thinking. So when you go up or downstairs, you think of the Lord. When you open or close your computer, you think of the Lord. When you turn the keys in your car, you think of the Lord. When you ... you can fill out any number of examples which would be helpful for habituating you to the practice of the presence of God. So this would be like, okay, this is now you're lending your attention to this continual prayer in a way that is yet more devout, or yet more fervent, or yet more continual in a way that's conscious, okay? So then that would be the kind of general shape of things. And in addition, I would say removing obstacles to that continual prayer. And here, just to highlight one thing, I think the biggest obstacle to continual prayer is the internet. And I don't say that just because I'm a troll or a Luddite, but those are both true things, but because I think it's true. And I think that it's true in a particular way while in front of your computer, but true also while with your phone, which is practically always. So I think that we can use our phones to cultivate a false recollection, to feel ourselves always engaged with our phones because it's bright, because it delivers dopamine and serotonin in massive doses, because it distracts us from the fact that we're lonely and sad and whatever, like anxious, okay? So I think that needs to be set aside. So at your particular workplace, I think that you should keep a healthy distance between you and your phone, so it shouldn't be within arm's reach. I think that you should kind of frame, slapping my microphone. You should frame your day in such a way that the phone doesn't start until a certain time and it doesn't go past a certain time. Like I won't look at my phone before 8 a.m. or I won't look at my phone after 10 p.m., something like that. So that way there's a kind of freedom, especially at the end and the beginning of the day. And then I think that you should try to be disciplined, whether it's by consciously looking at screen time and seeking to limit engagement. You should be disciplined about how much time you permit yourself to look at it. And I think the end of the day is a really seductive time because it's easy just to think, oh, a couple of minutes, more than a couple of minutes go by, you sleep less than you want to, you wake up tired, frustrated, sad, and then that becomes your recollection for the day rather than being continually in the presence of God. So I think that the phone, the internet, is a serious obstacle to genuine recollection, and as a result of which we need to take violent steps to place a kind of critical distance between ourselves and our phones, because the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and violent men take it by force. So boom, get after it. All right, those are my thoughts about praying continually or praying always. This, as you know, is Pints with Aquinas. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do. Press the bell. That way you get updates. Also, if you haven't yet checked out or subscribed to Godsplaining, which is a podcast to which I contribute with 4 other Dominican friars, please do that as well. You can check it out on YouTube or on any podcast app. Great conversations, oftentimes of a kind of contemplative sort. How do we live our lives in such a way as to be present to the Lord? So this here would be a pertinent theme. All right, that's it from me. My prayers are for you. Please pray for me, and I'll catch you next time on Pints with Aquinas.